I came across an article recently, and to say it's disturbing is, well, it's an understatement. Just skip ahead about a minute if you don't want to see or hear about it, but yeah, I'll just post it on the screen so I don't have to read it word for word. You can just pause the video and Google it if you think I'm exaggerating or something. I should know better than to read the news every day. I really don't. It's just every now and then, but I also feel like not reading anything is turning a blind eye. But the point is that, yeah, I know this is the kind of world we live in, but probably more disturbing is that anyone who's studied enough history knows there's still worse than this. The difference is that this sort of thing is happening right now, and there's really nothing you or I can do about it. Like, my country is actively funding these people, and then you start to wonder what else is happening in the world that hasn't been covered by the news, things that'll never see the light of day. So every day I ask myself, how could anyone drag anyone else into this world knowing this is what's happening? I mean, how could you take that risk? Worrying about things out of my control is pointless. Yeah, I know that, but it it doesn't really change the fact about what's happening on the other side of the planet. So I'm going to ramble a bit in this video. It's going to be more personal. I'm using my new camera here, and I'm just going to separate the audio from the video a little bit because, yeah, you probably don't want to hear all my breathing and all that, but yeah, we're just going to experiment with this a little bit. But in this video, I'm going to talk about my habits and ADHD and modern dating and just a bunch of nonsense, I guess. If you prefer my philosophy videos and essays, then you can probably just skip this one. So I'm going to start giving the summary in my videos at the beginning because I 100% understand people who can't sit through an entire video. I can't even watch most videos that are longer than 10 minutes myself. Otherwise, I just have to keep it as some kind of background noise as I do something else. So I've also been trying to make my videos this way so you don't have to give it your entire attention. The people who play video games and all that while they talk, yeah, it doesn't make much sense to me. I mean, I actually might do that, but yeah, who knows? I'm not really going to sit there and watch you play video games, though, just to listen to you. I'd rather just be doing something myself and keep YouTube as mostly something to listen to. So, again, I fully expect no one to actually watch this, but yeah, there needs to be some video, and I figured why not this, because I'm going to start hiking around a bit more. There's actually some really nice spots, but yeah, that's for the future. Like most of you, I hear this far in the video and I say, yeah, get to the point, hurry up. And I totally understand. So my honest suggestion is that you just keep me as background noise while you do something else, and that's going to allow me to cut down the editing process too. Also, I think I'm shadow banned on YouTube. I mean, I logged into my other account and then I tried looking up my videos from that account, and yeah, they were nowhere to be seen. So I have pretty much no faith in YouTube right now because their entire algorithm is automatically sorted and there's really nothing I can do about it. And I've been hearing about this from bigger YouTubers too, so it's not just me. But I mean, obviously it impacts them more, but yeah, I mean, it's still problematic to me. Like, I understand the quality of my videos in the super niche categories and, my angle, but yeah, this is partially why I'm really inconsistent. Still, I'm going to keep making videos. They'll just come out irregularly. So let's talk about the modern life and coping. What am I doing here? Why am I just outside hiking? Why even bother? Why even wake up tomorrow? Well, see, I'm mostly driven by spite and caffeine, I guess, but even that gets boring, so I have to switch it up. Like, it's not enough just to sit there and do nothing. But honestly, before I die, I mean, it is a bit hubristic, but I really want to see if physics can finally, finish a theory of everything in my lifetime. I have this, deep want to see how the universe really works before I die. I want to see if we can solve the problem of gravity, dark matter, and Hubble tension, all that stuff. So I'm sort of in it for the mystery also, and I've been working on a physics project lately. It's for dark matter, and it's pretty interesting once you start reading into it. Philosophy, it becomes annoying because all of it just becomes subjective. It's a perspective. So if any of you like hearing about physics once in a while, maybe this isn't the right channel, but I could do videos on that, even though it's more of a hobby for me. Anyway, if you're a cynic and you're trying to cope like me, well, this is still the right video. I also want to see what happens when shit hits the fan. I don't want to see suffering, but yeah, it is kind of unavoidable. I just want to see what happens when everything goes to hell. There is a bit of sort of satisfaction in being able to say, yeah, I told you so. I just want some validation for some of my predictions. I want to see what happens in the United States or Western society or whatever. It might feel kind of good to see certain politicians pass away before I do. I've got a dystopian bingo card too. Check it out. So yeah, if you guys want to play Apocalypse Bingo, let me know. And look, if you don't have some kind of dark humor, I don't know. I just don't think I've ever met a good person who didn't have a good sense of dark humor. And again, I'm not celebrating suffering. It's more like I have a penchant for correctly predicting things, which truly it's not that often, but still. So let's talk about why I was out here in nature. What am I doing? Is this a cope? Does this work? Well, yeah, I'm just walking around like an idiot. I mean, it's not going to solve anything. I'm not out here because I'm one of those people who wants to go live alone in a cabin in the woods. Like, this isn't like the end all be all. So this idea of returning to nature isn't some ultimate solution. Like, let's look at the ancient Greeks. They never really yearned for nature, not like we're doing these days. Not the way we are, because they were already a part of it. They didn't have a global empire yet. They still had plenty of mystery. And nature was, well, they took it for granted, I suppose. So they had their eyes on building a republic. They craved wisdom. They just didn't know it would destroy them eventually. And then we can look at another era, like medieval Europe. I mean, that was filled with people who were yearning for heaven instead. So everyone has a coping mechanism that has to rest outside of their normal lives. So hiking around in nature isn't much better than playing video games or something. For me, it's rare, but I mean, I try to do it. It's just about introducing another environment. I really wouldn't want to live out in the middle of nowhere in Alaska or something for the rest of my life. I've grown way too accustomed to this life. But let's say one person's unhappiness was just all about chemical imbalances and societal problems in your environment. Honestly, I think some people are just predispositioned to feel lonely or depressed or negative. I mean, for some it's unavoidable, because there's plenty of happy people in third world countries. Or so they say. I mean, I believe it, but for me, I do try to improve my situation. For example, like it turns out there's some easy fixes for small things. There's been times where I was either lacking vitamin D or iron or something simple. So yeah, quick tip for you guys. Lack of energy, check your blood. If you're not sure, screw it, just take some extra vitamins and minerals. Anyway, I think that's worth it, little things like that. Your health matters first. Just do the little things. That did boost me. But my health never really changed my outlook throughout my entire life. Even though I have more energy or whatever, it just means I notice more problems. The simple truth is that everything is a general decline. You can change your attitude, but you can't change reality. I mean, my health really has no bearing on what's happening in the Middle East, for example. Let me give you guys some context, because there might be this assumption that I must have been traumatized as a kid, or I experienced the worst possible life to come to such a negative view of existence. That's not really true, though. I'll tell you, my experience growing up, and, why I probably always leaned towards philosophical pessimism, although, I'd never be able to express that until much later.
Got hit with a sudden wind. Got pretty cold pretty fast. And it's like 7:20, so sunset's like 8:20. But up here, it's kind of dead. So could go up there, but that's like 2 or 3 miles, and yeah, it's just gonna get colder. I didn't dress for that, so I might head back. I'll just go around the corner, see what's there. It's nice though. Should I drink it? No, I won't.
For me, I've always been disconnected, even with a large family and lots of friends. Every part of it seemed disingenuous to who I really was, if I could say that. Even this idea of God and religion, I felt disconnected from. Not that I was trying to disprove it, but it felt totally separate and non-belonging to me. I don't know if you consider that deeply spiritual or spiritually dead, but either way, I don't care much for that word, spiritual. It can mean anything, so it really means nothing to me. It's hard to explain, though. Even though I grew up in a good environment, I always felt like this massive emptiness, just this massive chasm of nothing. It was always, why? And, true, lots of kids, ask, why this, why that, and they keep going. But for me, it felt a little more existential than I could articulate at the time. Like, what the hell am I doing here? Everyone's just acting like this is normal. One minute I'm the nothing, and the next I'm looking around and everyone's playing along like they're on season 12 of the live show. And look, I'm just here trying to figure out the basic question of life, like, why do I have to eat vegetables if they taste nasty? Why was I born in a place that has a bunch of hurricanes that can kill us? Why not live somewhere else? So the world, everything was irrational, even though everything made sense. So from the get-go, for me, it was always a paradox. The scariest thing about growing up is that you assume adults know everything, like they're all enlightened superhumans that all have the answers, and everything's just going to make sense once you're an adult. And then one day, you're close to adulthood, and you realize nobody knows what the fuck is going on. Not only that, but about half the people around you are even stupider than you. And then you start to realize, it dawns on you that really no one knows anything. Just the practical things. And of course, they teach you about heaven. And if hell sounded awful, then the alternative wasn't great. I didn't really like the idea of living in heaven eternally. I mean, I mentioned it once, and yeah, they found it disturbing that I wouldn't want to be there forever. I didn't want any part of any afterlife system. I hated the idea of hierarchies, and I didn't want any leader. I didn't want anyone telling me what to do. I was very anti-authority, but I don't know, maybe that's just how all kids are. I was also terrified of being alone, of course, but I was timid and gentle and friendly, so yeah, I generally just did what I was told because I like to be on everyone's good side. Also, I didn't want to be disowned if I wasn't part of the group, obviously. So, no, I was never abused, and some of you might think it's weird that I grew up almost perfectly normal. Truly, that's the case, but even though I never had a lot of money, and I always had less than everyone else around me, so I noticed, that part never really bothered me too much, because you don't really worry about such things as a kid. As long as I was running around, staying active, and having fun, eating 3 meals a day, yeah, you don't really notice. You notice some differences, and maybe there's some jealousy, but yeah, it's so easy to get distracted when you're a kid that I never really cursed my circumstances, not until later. So by all accounts, I should be deeply grateful for my childhood. It was good in the sense that nothing terrible ever really happened. But I still wouldn't want to live it again. So looking at anyone's childhood, I wouldn't want to live that life either. I can't affirm any single one life the more I look. Although, some lives are better than others, of course. And for some reason, loneliness really resonated with me. Like, it felt like some sort of unspoken truth. Because even though, I had a big family and plenty of friends, I don't know, it struck me as odd at a young age that people couldn't directly access each other's thoughts. Like, if other people are actually real, this doesn't make sense. But yeah, whatever, I have a body, you have a body, yeah, of course you're real. So, it's something you just accept. So I had to grapple with solipsism for a while, but yeah, just by odds alone, obviously it's probably not true. And it's just a non-starter. Anyway, let's talk about relationships now. Seems like a good transition. So I've been noticing some videos pop up in my feed, not that I wanted to, about dating and relationships and society. And I was stupid enough to click on them out of boredom, just on YouTube. I don't have any social media. But, a little bit of drama can't hurt, right? So I basically decided most people are delusional or trolling. Their reality doesn't comport with mine. It doesn't make any sense. Like, I have no connection with what they're saying. Like, men and women, at least the extremes. So there's men and women with these crazy expectations, like the internet is somehow supposed to represent real life. And it's really weird because, it's very Baudrillard-esque, if you could say, that people are starting to act like the extreme examples you see on the internet, even though it's not real. So people are taking these extreme symbols and these misrepresentations, and they're actually starting to try to live it out. And this is another problem. Once you see something you would have never seen without the internet, it's kind of ruined. Like, you see all these cool things, and you're only experiencing a simulation of it, secondhand account. You're not getting the real deal. Okay, so for example, I wish I'd never seen videos about killer whales, and then, one day I get to go see them in person, see if the stories are true, go down to the West Coast, hop in a kayak, and yeah, for the first time I get to see one in the flesh. And looking back at me, there's this massive, horrifying creature that only looks at me in curiosity. And imagine my first time seeing it, even touching it. It would be like meeting an alien for the first time. But learning about orcas, yeah, now it feels kind of ruined, especially watching lots of videos about them. So I don't even want to see them in real life at this point. I feel like it's been there, done that. Because, like, even if I see the real deal, the experience is still ruined. I'd rather get the entire meal all at once instead of a shitty virtual feeding. So our society is breeding impatience. Too much information sucks, because it's just to get everything at once in a degraded form. And a lot of it is only just an illusion. So not only did you not earn that experience, so it's ruined, but there's a good chance these days it's not even real. The world sucks now because the internet gave everyone too much too quickly and we didn't earn it for ourselves. And the worst thing now is that we can't really live without the internet. It's like built into us. And it's probably irreversible, so the world is just going to keep getting worse. The lesson is that, yeah, if aliens contact us, just don't tell anyone. Just keep it a secret. Anyone who wants to see them in person has to fly to the moon in a zero-tolerance recording zone. Something like that. But yeah, sorry, back to my main point. It really doesn't matter if men or women's lives are easier. Which one? Like, I've been homeless. I've been screwed every which way. I had practically nobody to rely on. I had to pick myself up and get myself out of debt. I had to buy my own car, pay all my bills. And I've made it to where, I could lose my job and not worry for a year without working at this point. And I don't have any expensive habits or hobbies. So in some of these videos, women were complaining that they're only getting laid once a week or something, and guys stop talking to them, or they complain about guys that they've only met once aren't willing to pay their haircuts or their nails or their clothes or even their entire rent. I've seen that. And it's really disgusting, honestly. It's disgusting behavior. I can't even imagine the audacity of asking someone to pay for the rent if I haven't even dated them yet. It's also annoying to listen to them when pretty much most women can go on any dating app and get 1,000 messages in just one day. Not that the quality is good, I admit, but yeah, most guys are lucky to get a single message even in just a month. I mean, that's just the standard these days. Like 10 years ago, I could hit up anyone. I could, get a message back from a dozen different people. I could hang out. I could go on a date. I could, everything was easily accessible. But now I got to go through hundreds of people, maybe 1,000 people, maybe more, and get nothing from it. So from a guy's perspective, it's just really insulting to hear someone complain about too many options. Like, that's not a real complaint. Or not getting enough free things all the time. Or how men don't approach women anymore after they've asked them not to. So I don't know if those videos are real reactions. Maybe it's just rage bait. But there's this totally backwards idea that strangers are supposed to financially support them and guys are magically going to fall in love with a woman they don't know by buying them what they want. It's really backwards. I honestly think that some of these women think that what turns us on or something is buying them things first before we know them. So most guys aren't willing to spend a lot of money on someone they aren't in love with yet. Kind of obvious, but I don't know. Apparently it's not. So it's sort of bizarre that they don't understand this, unless I'm the one being trolled. It could just be rage bait. Maybe not. The last girl I actually talked to a while back, she would take an entire week to text back, and she would always claim she was busy, even though I could see she was always on her phone typing away. And, I suspect she was talking to a dozen other guys simultaneously. And then we meet up. She meets up half drunk. She carries around a canteen of alcohol. And the funny thing is, she wasn't even the worst person I've ever met. She was actually one of the best people I've ever met. But, as an average introvert, the only thing I kept thinking was, I can't live like this, man. This is just, I can't be around people like this. This is not real life. Half the time she was complaining how men ruin dating. But, whatever. It was a good lesson. Once in a while, I dip my toes into the social life, just to remind myself that it's probably better alone, even though I don't like it. So, yeah, every now and again, all I need to do is talk to someone else for a few minutes to sort of reassure my solitude. So I do have to count my blessings that I'm not stuck with someone I hate or that I'm divorced with kids. At least I don't have that. So I'll give the women a break and criticize guys for a minute too, because, some of these guys are just fucking wild, but again, these are probably both extremes of the spectrum. So if you're an incel, okay, hear me out here. I'm not trying to attack you, and I'm actually just trying to help you out here with this perspective. First of all, getting laid isn't going to change your life. It's not something magical. I'm sorry, but it's not. The worst thing you can do is get laid just to figure out it doesn't solve your issues. You're going to sit there afterwards thinking, wait. This is all life is? This is it? This is the grand meaning? This person doesn't even like me. This person's not going to remember me in 5 years. So it's just a stupid game about boosting your personal ego. I think at this point, society is so broken that women will just have to start making the first moves if they want to start getting back together. I honestly think that's what it has to be. I told that to a relative once, years ago, because she was struggling to find someone. She looked at me in horror and she was like, doesn't that come off as desperate? No, unless he's an asshole. And I actually think that approach ultimately worked for her. So times are changing, so strategies got to change too. Women will complain about men until the end of time about not being approached, but yeah, most do it. Even if they got rejected 5% of the time, it's unbearable for them. It'll ruin their day. Any loss is an entire loss. If a guy gets rejected 95 times out of 100, seriously, this is true, he'll still be so happy. Any win is an entire win for him. So yeah, maybe it's not really in your nature, but yeah, the world is so backwards right now. If everyone wants to die alone, that's fine too, because the world is overpopulated, but that's what it's looking like right now. But with me, I noticed my own asshole moment. For example, well, one of many. There's like this middle-aged, unattractive woman staring at me in the doctor's office, and yeah, it's kind of uncomfortable. Okay, she's been staring at me for half an hour now, and I can't even look in her direction because it's awkward as fuck. I can see from my peripheral, though. And then it hits you, and then you go, oh, I get it now. I'm an asshole too. People don't want love. That kind of woman probably could treat me well. She could probably make me dinners or whatever and, treat me exactly every way I want to be. But yeah, I'm just not attracted to her physically or otherwise. So yeah, we're all selfish assholes. It has nothing to do with the other person. So once we get something, we just want something better. And that goes with sex, men and women. And yeah, of course, no one's entitled to anyone else, not sex, not money, not anything. But it's interesting because our independence is also kind of deteriorating us. So, and see, whether or not men actually are more reasonable with their self-worth, their value, that doesn't really matter because women are still suffering to be striving and desiring for the thing that they don't have also. Like, you could just say that women hold the key to sex, but men hold the key to marriage. Even if they want this thing or that thing and you think it's unreasonable, yeah, just because you can't understand it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Also, it's impossible to determine whose suffering is worse, in the face of loneliness. Probably women, right? I mean, there's really no point in playing a suffering contest. Someone's always going to beat you. So, this is why I don't like to compare suffering between men and women. I don't think you can. And women are just more vulnerable, after all. Like, do you know how much I would hate to be a woman and be approached by creepy old guys all the time? Or to have stalkers? I would probably hate that even more than the lack of sex. So, for all the women who have narcissist boyfriends or they're constantly being abused, yeah, you have my sympathy. And I don't think I could handle it. I think I would take loneliness over abuse. But even if single women are promiscuous, they're still suffering for the fact that they're generally more vulnerable and that men are naturally more aggressive. So, yeah, they have to make their own compromises. Even being beautiful puts a target on your back. So part of my coping is not really comparing suffering. I mean, the same way you don't compare anything because it's like they say, comparison just robs you of joy. That's all it does. So to me, the bottom line is, would you rather be in a relationship with a woman who is only with you because she needs you? Or would you want to be with a woman who actually wants you? And I don't want to be with someone who doesn't like me for who I am. That's why I don't like casual sex. So there's multiple angles for suffering that maybe not everyone sees. And that's what you guys really need to understand. Like, I know it's going to hurt your feelings. Most people do not care about you. Even if you get laid, they will not love you. You're looking for validation. You're not going to find it there, okay? And you've made it your entire personality. It's not the root of your problems, but you're making it out to be. It's way deeper than that. As for women in general, I guess, another generalization, but whatever. Based on what I've seen from those videos, I was stupid enough to watch, I think you are too picky, at least the women who represent, that sort of extreme. I think a lot of men are right about this one. And I've met way too many women that are talking to multiple men at the same time to, keep their options open. And yeah, that goes for everyone, of course. I think in general, it's pretty fucking disgusting behavior, unless you're okay with that and you're both consenting. But your supposed options aren't real possibilities. It's the illusion of choice. They're not real possibilities. They're just illusions. Most guys giving you attention don't actually care about you. They're just playing the numbers game. So if you're not a supermodel, you've basically got a few options. And yeah, I'm sorry, but even most guys don't get that many options. You're competing on a global scale. But yeah, I predict that if society keeps playing this game, we're going to have a huge demand for, I don't know, more community centers and retirement homes. Every other job is going to be a maintenance worker for all the middle-aged singles, people who can't mow their lawn, or, just someone they just want to talk to. So yeah, I hate to say it, but we're going to have a massive demand for real-world connection, and it's probably going to affect women more as they get older because, again, they're more vulnerable. Men are more independent as they get older. And I don't think they should suffer just because they were being too picky or whatever in their youth. You shouldn't celebrate someone's suffering. You never should, even if they made bad decisions. We're just products of living in a broken system. I told you so sounds nice once, but yeah, it doesn't fix the problem. So I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if it's AI robot companions or what, but yeah, I'm going to bet that death by overdosing on prescription medication, it's going to at least double in the next few decades. Just keep an eye out for that. But I would say that, yeah, everyone is sort of flipped now. So if women don't approach men, given that they have a much higher success rate than men when they do, then yeah, we're going to see a serious population decline. Not necessarily a bad thing. I do think we're overpopulated, but that's another topic. If the loneliness epidemic leads to fewer children, then I can't be too mad about it. So I cope here by sympathizing with both men and women because I know it's not just a me problem. I feel more validated when I know the world is a lonely place. The irony here is that as long as the internet exists, people are going to become lonelier and lonelier. So unless you change or destroy that, we're going to grow more disconnected. It's the same reason why mass information led to misinformation. We're just not made for the world we built. We don't belong here. Home is probably the place of nothing. And that goes for every civilization. Anyway, coping, okay. So, back on track. If you're like me, maybe you're naturally disconnected or you're misanthropic or you just need a break. All right, so one thing I do, even if it's just a cope, even if it doesn't change the world, I have to look at other people's situations. I've always said gratitude is just a platitude. Gratitude is a platitude. Put that on a bumper sticker. No, thank you. Seriously though, if it works, it works and gets you through another day. Gratitude never really helped my depression or anxiety or anything, but it does keep you grounded, at least one day at a time. So this is also why I come out to nature. Even though it's peaceful to me, to most animals, it's way more brutal. There's less long-term stress like humans, but overall there's more short, painful moments. We get to stretch out our suffering, but yeah, they get the particularly brutal moments. But as a person, not only is it not bad that I get to mostly avoid that, we get to stretch this out across our lives. Not only that, but if self-awareness has to exist somewhere, inevitably, if the universe is infinite, then at some point, by living as a person in modern times with medicine and all that, yeah, I'm escaping a shitty life somewhere else. So every moment I'm here and not there, wherever the suffering is elsewhere, is generally not a bad thing, or it's less bad. At least I keep telling myself that. So in this way, the world's luckiest people will never realize they're the luckiest people. Because being stupid means you're not really aware of how lucky you are. And if you're not aware of how lucky you are, you're probably ungrateful. So having moderate luck might be among the best options. If I had to exist somewhere, like not in a reincarnation sense, but I've explained subjective persistence in my videos exhaustively by now, but if some person like me has to exist, then I would say, I don't know, maybe one of the best lives they can live would be some kind of Amish lifestyle. So that's why I don't hate religious people, because, honestly, if I had to be dragged back here to this existence over and over and over, let me be a naive little Amish kid. No offense to them. But anyway, the cope here is that being naive is merciful. So from that abstraction, I realize that naturally, I don't know most things. And people in 10,000 years, if we survive that long, probably not. I give it about 300 years. They might be jealous of how we live today. The fact that we're not stuck in a virtual reality where even sexy AI women learn to reject you, yeah, that's not a bad thing. Imagine you get a prison sentence for 500 years and they find a way to keep your consciousness alive so you can serve out your entire sentence. And the people dictating what's right and wrong are just the richest companies, and even your deepest, darkest thoughts are publicly known. It could be way worse. We're certainly approaching that, though. At least we lived through the age of the Wild West of the internet. I mean, do you guys remember how awesome it was back in the day? Without nonstop ads on the internet, and you could say pretty much anything, and Google didn't fucking steal your information? Oh, back in my day. But nah, I think we're all old enough to know that. But we can be grateful that most people aren't suffering on Mars yet. AI isn't suffering yet. I'm not worried about that anytime soon, but if humanity somehow avoids burning this planet to smithereens, then yeah, you can bet that we'll do it, because if it can be imagined, it can be built. With certain conditions, of course. I strongly believe that, though. It's also not bad that we forget all the time. I think the average person remembers about 2 days a month for every month of their life. That's like filtering out over 90% of your experiences. Not a bad thing, but even if most of those experiences were good, you're not really deprived of the good experiences if you can't even remember them, so you don't know what you're missing out on. But yeah, generally, it's the best and worst moments we keep. The way to cope here is to stop caring what other people think. I mean, maybe you're worried about what other people think, you're being short, or bald, or fat, or whatever. I mean, meanwhile, they're only focused on their headache or their finances. It's impossible to experience anything outside of yourself, and that's a good thing. So think about it this way. Can you even remember what most people were doing in your vicinity just this week? No. I can't even remember a single person's face. I don't even know half my coworkers' names. I don't even know the name of my own boss at work. I don't want to know, and that makes me happy. Oh, that's why I'm extra peaceful when people around me don't even speak English. A lot of these right-wingers are so pissed off that people aren't speaking their language. I mean, are you kidding me? That's a blessing. Do you really want to know what the hell everyone is saying at the same time? I don't. Good. Keep your secrets. So let me talk about my ADHD for a second. I mean, if you couldn't tell already. How to cope? Short answer, yeah, you don't. At least I can't. I don't know. I just got hooked up with Adderall. Doesn't work for me. 20, 40, 50 milligrams doesn't really do much. I'll have to try something else, but yeah, I probably just have to work on personal habits. Also, I'm still working on writing my stories and whatnot on my other channel. It's just that I don't want to make them into separate parts because I want to make sure that I finish stories one at a time. A lot of them are like half complete, so instead of breaking them up into several parts, I'd rather just dump a bunch at once. But yeah, I'm still working on it slowly. It's just a focus thing. I am making progress, and I've basically had to reinvent how I write, but it's coming along a little bit better now. I need to find somewhere to write where I'm not distracted, but, also away from my own place. Kind of difficult while you're hiking, not really a comfortable spot, but yeah, I try that once in a while. But as far as treating ADHD, they don't really think it's an issue. Society. So I have a to-do list to prioritize what I know I need to do, but my brain just doesn't care. It scrambles all these things and it needs to make sense of all of them at once. And if it can't do that, then it can't do anything. Like, truthfully, I end up reading, writing, or researching regardless, but I spread it across like 50 different things. Like, there's some progress, but it's not like a ladder. And that's basically what ADHD is to me, at least in my experience. I'm glad I'm not autistic. I can act pretty sociable if I want to. I just prefer not to. So my only solution so far is just to reset my brain, change of pace, reset my environment, and, slowly finish projects one at a time. Some progress is some progress. It's better than nothing. So if anything is written, it's just better than nothing. The key here is to stop being sucked into rabbit holes, though. I've said this before, but yeah, you guys really just need to delete social media. That's the only way to go from that. Everything is a rabbit hole, depending how far you want to go. And me, I want to go everywhere all at once, everywhere, as deep as possible. But I also just want to drift off into nothingness forever. Not in a dead way, but yeah, just to pause existence as I sit there so I don't worry about wasting time. It'd be so nice just to have something just to pause existence all around you and sit there and sleep for a year and then do all your projects and then resume time. Which is really weird considering I'm a pessimist. Like, you'd think I should be glad to waste time since I only want to live once in this world, but yeah, I still fret over what I should be doing, even if it's impossible. It's like I'm addicted to finding out every single answer even though I know it's pointless. I realized over the years that telling myself over and over that I don't care about anything is the biggest cope. It doesn't work. I do care. Obviously I do. You have to care. It's impossible not to care, I would argue. But I always ask myself, If I would suddenly care if every person on Earth suddenly disappeared tomorrow, would I still be writing or making art of some kind? Would I do this or that? Because if my beliefs are supported by like-minded people, but they happen to be wrong or misled, I mean, who would I actually be without any validation? What does truth even matter if everyone but me disappeared tomorrow? So one day in the future, someone will be the last human on Earth. I think about this person. It's weird, but I do think about this person. What do they say? What do they do? What's their natural state when no one's looking? Can someone be who they are if they don't have to pretend to be anything anymore? So my ethics are based on what I would do if nobody were watching me. Who would I be if there was no one to judge me, not even God? And I try to live accordingly. So my ethics are pretty simple here. I say it's endurance, effort, and expression. It's vague, but I think it's a pretty good starting point. Anyway, I don't involve myself in any community or group or anything like that. My cope is basically a Krishnamurti mindset. He advocated for not joining groups, organizations, not going near any religious or spiritual movements. Probably the best thing you can do in modern times is avoid propaganda, conformist thinking, leaders, dogma. I mean, there's a huge urge for belonging, but true awareness probably comes from standing alone. It doesn't mean I think I'm better or, I don't know, like this idea of me versus the world. It's not like that. Because obviously society needs groups to function. Just don't make it your identity. I mean, that goes for everyone, of course. Like, your desire for security and escaping fear by getting validation from other people who will never care about you truly, you're preventing a deeper understanding of yourself. Because that's what happens in these groups. They always end up promoting separation somehow. They always fragment, and they're always trying to sell you something, whether that's your time or your money or your identity. That ruins your individual scrutiny. Would you rather be a statistic in a group or a human being? I mean, I guess there's strength in numbers, but yeah, stupidity comes with it too. So socializing isn't bad in itself. It's also okay to chat online if you don't have any friends or anyone around you, and you need to find shared values online. But I'm also not partial to tribalism. I'm not the kind of person just to hang out in a Discord group. That's not me. There's just something weird about it. I feel like I'd rather know you in person before meeting you in a virtual space. Meeting people online, it's just, it feels bizarre. The last person I talked to in person was an older woman, because I had to. She was complaining about modern education or something like that. I think she was a teacher. I said something like, we sure could have used more educated people in the last election. I probably shouldn't have said that. She thought I was talking about New York City. I was referring to Trump. She goes, right? Can you believe that? I can't believe they actually voted for a socialist in this country. And even worse, she looks at me with this face of horror. Even worse, did you know he's a rapper? She has this appalling look. I'm like, worse? He's a rapper? That's what's worse? So she told me this is what's wrong with the world. I mean, these are the kind of people I have to talk to, that I have to interact with. I was still nice to her, but at that point, there's just no reason to keep the discussion going. So most conversations I have with someone feels pretty similar to that. So you can see why I don't like talking to people. If I have to socialize, I don't know about that one. I don't have any advice there. You guys probably have better advice than I do for me. So it's easy to get along with small talk, but that feels fake and boring. And if you get in a deeper discussion, then, within 5 minutes, you've already heard enough. Another example, there's one guy from work that, he loves to chat and sometimes I'll listen. He complained that his oldest child is a pain in the ass. He's complaining that his kid is always getting in trouble. He's like a total nightmare. He can barely afford to take care of him since his wife doesn't work. Also, the kid is severely autistic. So then, of course, I ask him, that's your only child, right? He goes, no. I have a couple more. All right. And this was well after he knew he couldn't handle the first one. Like, the first kid wasn't bad enough. He can't even handle him. The kid is becoming a public nuisance. I mean, this guy is broke. His wife isn't working. The poor kid inherited his parents' mental illnesses. I mean, not just autism, but he's also complaining about the economy and his stress and all that. And then he decides, I think I'll have more kids. That makes total sense. So as much as I hate the billionaires and politicians, I'm not a fan of the poor. I'm not a fan of the stupid. Having kids in those circumstances just means you're giving the people at the top more cannon fodder. You're just creating wage slaves. So that also means you're screwing me over. Being poor is no excuse to being reckless. I'm still friendly to that guy, but yeah, you're just not going to find me hanging out with someone like that. Anyway, I've been rambling too long. Sorry if I didn't offer the best coping strategies here. Or maybe you can do what I did and you can create videos where you walk around and bitch about the world. I actually like hearing other people's perspectives that are similar to mine, but, with different circumstances. The angrier you are, the funnier it is. I can't really do angry really well. That doesn't suit me. I'm a politely complaining kind of a guy. So if anyone wants to go around alone in the woods and scream at the top of their lungs, give me that video. Please give me that video. I need to hear your bitching. That would make my day 1,000 times better. But yeah, I'll make some more videos soon. I'm aware of the category issues, but I'm going to start making playlists for that too. But yeah, it'll be an on and off kind of a thing. It'll depend. There's not a lot of spots where I can make videos like this, but I'll keep doing them from time to time. Anyway, take care, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.